Just picture it, an old manuscript, hidden away for centuries, tucked away in a secret monastery room. It's a forgotten text, its words written with such precise handwriting, as if the writer had a deeper understanding of the world. It's not a grimoire of magic or an alchemical parchment, but something more subtle and intriguing. It's a knowledge that was once shared with all, but was carefully kept hidden, so that only a few folks the secrets of prosperity will be revealed to you. They have been protected with more zeal than any other. Truth is no accident on a civilization face from Babylon to this day. Who they understood the true nature of money were persecuted, or in Exodus. The emperors of Rome consulted his or yours not only about battles but on the flow of wealth in their domains. The rabbins of the Talmud discussed on the serrated equilibrium between giving and receiving, while in the temples of Egypt were places where priests and scribes studied the relationship between the geometry of the universe and the accumulation of goods. But what makes prosperity a knowledge so dangerous? The answer is simple, and it's something we can all relate to. The terrifying money is not what we believe. It's not paper. It's not gold. It's not even energy. Independent is a reflection of a deeper structure of reality. If you understand how wealth is generated, you understand how the cosmos operates. Let's dive into the wonders of the universe and see what we can learn. You're like the architect of your own destiny. The scriptures, in all their forms, have been gently whispering this message to us for a long time, but it's only recently that many of us have truly understood it. Let's find this message in the Gospel of Thomas. One of the Gnostic texts that the Church has chosen to hide. It's a phrase that might make you feel a bit uneasy, but if you understand what's inside, it can save you. If you don't understand what's inside, it can destroy you. This passage is like a loving call to each of us, reminding us that we're all works of art and we all have the power to create our own destiny. Knowledge is so amazing. It holds a hidden truth about wealth, about what's within us, in our minds, in our conscience. It's truly the only source of real creation. In Kabbalah, the concept of Ait is all about the restoration of the world through the correction of the individual. For the Kabbalist, poverty and wealth are just projections of the state of the soul. If a person understands his place in the divine structure, abundance is granted naturally. But if we move away from that understanding, the universe can become a desert. This isn't a punishment, though. It's just an inevitable consequence. Unfortunately, most people have never had access to these wonderful teachings in their pure form. Throughout history, the powerful have learned to hide them. During the Middle Ages, Hermetic texts were declared heretics and burned. The teachings of Rosicrucians and the Masons were distorted until myths. What was previously known only by the elite of the priesthood became the foundation of financial power. In the modern world, the 1% that controls the world is not smarter or more skilled than the rest, but has understood principles that the majority know. Modern neuroscience has started to touch the edges of this mystery. Studies in quantum physics have revealed that the observer alters what is observed. Thought has a powerful influence on our lives, and it's fascinating to think about how even something as small as a subatomic particle can be affected by our awareness. In his work, El Kiblon talks about how we can use our thoughts to shape our experiences, which is really inspiring. It's interesting to think about how money, which is often seen as the ultimate symbol of success, is actually a reflection of our beliefs. Religions have played a big role in emphasizing faith as a way to connect with a higher power, and it's something that many people find comforting. Thought has a powerful influence on everything in our lives. When we think about the events of our life every day, we can see that money is not the exception. Religions have insisted on faith as a principle because they understand that power is not an abstract idea, but a real mechanism. When Jesus said, "If you have faith, size faith," he meant that if we have faith, we can move mountains. Jesus wasn't speaking in metaphors, he was describing the same mechanics that quantum physicists discovered centuries later. This gives us absolute certainty in a future reality. Power is something real, not just an idea. Jesus said that if you have faith, you can move mountains. He wasn't speaking in metaphors. He was talking about the same things that quantum physicists have discovered. The only thing that can create a future reality is faith. But humanity has been tricked into thinking that wealth is something outside of us. We've been made to believe that money depends on things we can't control. We've been told that prosperity is a matter of luck, or that it's passed down through family, or that it's the result of a good education. But the truth has always been there for us. It's important to understand that money is a product of thought, not of desire. The ancient alchemists were onto this, and they called it the elixir that could turn any metal into gold. But the great initiates knew that the true transmutation was mental. I didn't understand this principle at first, but I'm grateful to have learned it. Money is a product of thought, not of desire. The ancient alchemists knew that the true transmutation was mental, not physical. Everything touched becomes wealth. This is what they have hidden. This is why certain books have been prohibited, certain ideas have been ridiculed, and certain knowledge has been persecuted. A man who includes the true nature of money is a free man. The system cannot tolerate a free man. In this book, we will explore texts that have been buried in history. We will explore words that were silenced because their power was too great. Great is not about superstitions or esoteric fantasies. It is about universal principles that have been known by all great civilizations. Have a lot to teach us about how ancient wise people understood the flow of money. We can learn a lot from the big fortunes that have been built under laws that most people ignore. And you can apply this knowledge to your own life, too. It's no accident that you're here. This isn't about asking whether this knowledge will change your life. It's about whether you're ready to understand it. Once you see the reality, you'll never go back to the illusion you've been living in. The door is open, and the decision to cross it is yours. The secret art of attracting wealth is written by listening to your subconscious. All rights reserved. We have noticed. Hey, if you're not subscribed to our channel yet, we'd really appreciate it if you could give it a try. Your support would mean the world to us, and it'd help us keep creating awesome content for you. In this chapter, we're going to dive into the topic of money and its spiritual side. Money isn't just something physical, like metal, paper, or numbers on the screen. It's more like a living force, moving like the tides and sometimes slipping away from those who don't fully understand its true nature. Money is like a flow, a vibration that can transform or even destroy human life, depending on what we choose to do with it. Since ancient times, people have looked up to it as something sacred. No empire has ever existed without it. In the old Egypt, they had a really interesting view of wealth. The goddess Ma'at was all about harmony and balance. She weighed the souls of people to determine their worth. She also helped establish the natural trade order that governed the world. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Ma'at was all about harmony and balance. She was the one who weighed people's souls to make sure they were living right. And in India, there was Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. She wasn't just a goddess of wealth, though. She was also a deity of material abundance and a representation of vital energy. Even before Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, the gold was already a part of creation. And the gold of that land was really good. Genesis 2, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is a symbol of prosperity in India. She represents the vital energy that's found in the land and is present even before humans were created. The Bible talks about gold as a creation element in the land of Eden. The gold of India is known for its quality. Money's true power lies in its movement, not in its accumulation. This is similar to the way vital energy, or Qi, in Chinese philosophy, needs to flow freely for health to thrive. When money is stagnant, it can actually become a curse instead of a blessing. This is a paradox that many people have overlooked in their quest for wealth. If you fear money, you risk losing it all. Money is energy, my friend, but it's not something we get just by working hard. For a long time, many of us have thought that money comes from working hard and being tired. But those of us who have learned the old ways know something different. Money comes to those who are open to it, not those who are closed off. Jesus said something really interesting when he said, "He who has more will be given, but the one who does not have what he has will be removed." Matthew 25:29. It's not about being unfair, but about resonance. When you vibrate in abundance, you attract more of the same. But when you vibrate in lack, you might end up attracting more of that. This is where modern science starts to connect with the wisdom of the mystics. They've known for thousands of years that what we observe affects how we see reality. Quantum physics has shown that our observations can influence the outcome, not just in the way we see things, but also in how we act. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrates that our expectations and intentions can shape how we interact with the world around us. Particles can be like waves or particles, depending on how they are viewed. But what is money, really? It's just a way to make electronic transactions. It's a way for us to communicate and agree on things. If our thoughts can influence matter at the subatomic level, then the financial reality of an individual is just a result of their mental state. Those who are afraid, despairing, in debt, and distressed are vibrating at a frequency that keeps repeating that same state, but those who have learned to move in the dance of giving receive without fear activate a mechanism, invisible to most, that makes money arrive easily. This is something the elites have known for a long time. Magnates don't think in terms of effort, but in terms of influence and energy. While the common citizen fights for a better economy, architects have understood that wealth is first created in the mind. The Talmud is a wonderful place to find those looking for money. It's important to remember that not everyone understands their nature, but that's okay. History and practice are where we all come together. If money is a living force, then each person is a channel of that energy. Some people act as reservoirs, while others are like rivers, constantly renovating. The question isn't about weapons, but rather opening the door so that the natural flow of abundance can flow freely. The secret is all in how you act. When you're driven by fear, you hold on to your money, and you try to avoid panic. But when you're in a state of fear, it's like your energy field is smaller. It's the same reason why your heart can stop. You need to fill your energy tank. When you act with trust and understand that money is just an external form of your inner energy, you can make real change. This isn't about being wasteful. It's about acting with the certainty that the source of prosperity is within you. The ancient alchemists talked about lead transmutation in gold. The wise ones understood that the true transmutation was another form of fear, the fear in certainty. Gold is nothing more than a reflection of that transformation. Think of great historical figures who changed the world with their ideas. They were not ordinary people with ordinary fears. They were individuals who understood that money is not an end in itself, but a means to channel something greater. That's why in the teachings, Hermetic correspondence is all about the idea that what's on the inside is reflected in the outside. When our minds are filled with chaos, scarcity, and limitations, the world around us can seem pretty bleak. But when our minds are in a state of harmony and our frequencies are in sync with the world around us, we can create a reality that's filled with abundance and prosperity. And that, my friends, is the power of alignment. So, let's dive into this unavoidable truth. Money isn't about how much you have in your bank account. It's about what you have in your heart and in your soul. It's important to recognize that your energy contributes to your awareness of those who understand this. They don't need to pursue wealth. Money isn't everything. This is the great hidden secret. It's not a trick, it's not magic, and it's not luck. It's the very nature of the universe. Money is like fire. It can illuminate or consume, give life or reduce everything to ashes. Those who understand its essence learn to control it instead of being controlled by it. So, the question is simple. Will you be the fire or you will be the ash? Chapter 2, The Gods of Gold and the Fortune Rites and Symbolism in Every Corner of the World. Have you ever thought about how gold has been important to people for thousands of years? It's not just a metal, it's a reflection of the divine. It's a symbol of things that never change and last forever. While things like iron and wood might change over time, gold stays the same. It's like a shining symbol of life itself. In ancient civilizations, it was only the gods who were adorned with pure gold. It's almost as if this metal had a special, sacred quality. That goes beyond the matter, but why is there golden fortune? The wise people of antiquity clearly understood that the gods who ruled wealth were not just figures of mythology. Take Osiris, the god of regeneration and fertility, for example. He was also the guardian of prosperity. In the cycle of creation and renewal in India, Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. It's about gold and abundance, sure, but also about love and beauty. After all, true wealth isn't just about material things, but about a frequency that covers everything that touches. In Greece, Pluto, the god of fortune, was often depicted as a blind man. But this wasn't just random. It was because wealth flows according to invisible laws that only those who understand them can take advantage of. Money has always had a place in religion, and like everything in life, it demands its share of rites and offerings. But these ceremonies aren't for the superstitious. Just for a moment, picture a world without these traditions. Instead of offerings and prayers, imagine acts of kindness that, though empty of material substance, are filled with the spirit of giving. In ancient times, People would place coins on the altars of fortune, not to buy divine favor, but to symbolize a pact with the law of exchange. The priests understood that when something is given with care and intention, it grows in abundance because the universe is a reciprocal place. This beautiful principle is found in many sacred texts, often woven into tales and fables. Metaphors in the Bible. The history of King Solomon is one of the most revealing. When God offers you anything, King Solomon asks for wisdom, not gold or power, and paradoxically receives more. In its purest sense, wealth is not about accumulation, but understanding. When you understand the nature of money, it inevitably attracts you. In esoteric traditions, this idea is even deeper. In the Kabbalah, money is seen as a manifestation of the divine light, a reflection of the creative energy of the universe. Is something we can all feel, but this light needs a home. There are those who, no matter how much money they have built a space for it within themselves. They fill it with water, like a pitcher. This knowledge, although hidden, has been used by the powerful since ancient times. In ancient societies, secrets about gold were not just about wealth, but about transformation. The alchemists sought this secret. It's interesting how we tend to think of gold as something that can be turned into something else, like lead. But the truth is, gold is really the final expression of a process that purifies being. It's funny how many of us today have forgotten these lessons. We see wealth as something we need to work hard to achieve, instead of seeing it as a natural result of having a mindset that's in harmony with universal laws. But, the great leaders and the dynasties that have been in charge of money for centuries have kept this idea alive. Knowledge isn't about magic or superstition, but rather about understanding the very structure of reality. Modern neuroscience is starting to confirm what wise people have intuitively understood for a long time. Experiments on brain plasticity have shown that the mental environment of a molded person directly affects your reality. In other words, the way we perceive money determines our relationship with it. Those who see it as a limited resource that must be taken from the world with suffering live perpetually, and those who understand it as an endless flow of energy, a visible expression of an inner state, find it easy to embrace. This is where history and practice converge. In ancient times, rituals for prosperity weren't just superstition, they were actually exercises in mental reprogramming. The initiates trained their minds to accept abundance, aligning their thoughts with prayers and wishes for wealth. In today's world, these principles are still around, but they've been given a new look. When you donate from the heart, without fear or attachment, you're actually following the same ancient law as the Egyptian priests of old. Just picture it. When you see your success in your mind's eye with total belief, you're tapping into the same power that mystics used in their rituals of manifestation. But here's the big question, what kind of God is it? Is it money for you? For some, he is a tyrant who governs their lives with fear and scarcity. For others, is an ally that flows with naturalness. The answer to this question defines not only the bank account of a person, but their whole existence. The ancients knew that gods only responded to those who understood money. Like any energy, money aligns with those who have learned its language. Luck or chance is not the law. Those who dominate cease to be slaves of fortune and become its masters. Chapter 3, The Legacy of Wise Sayings and Lost Ideas about Money. Human history has been shaped by the word. What a person thinks and says affects their actions, and these actions ultimately determine their future. This idea has been around since the ancient temples of Mesopotamia. Even today, in the modern glass towers where the world's economic future is understood by a few and misunderstood by the majority, we can still find traces of this wisdom. These traces can be found in forgotten corners of history, in buried manuscripts and quotes that have been overlooked, and it's important to hear the testimonies of those who really understood the nature of the money. His words were more than just observations, they were like keys that opened the door to a deeper truth. The gold biffer exists in the hand of a man. It must exist in your mind. The wise rabbis in the Talmud said that poverty isn't about not having goods. It's about not having vision. It's not about not having coins. It's about not having understanding. Have you ever thought about how they move? There's a similar idea in Torah's texts. They say that if you're kind, people will come to you. It's like a magnet, It's an old law, but it's always there, just waiting for us to understand it. And here's a cool thought, wealth isn't something you have to hunt for. It's more like an attraction. In the Gospel of Thomas, They say that Jesus was considered heretical and banned by the primitive church. But, in the text, Jesus says, "Who has will be given more, and who does not yet of what." So, what has will be removed. When you take out the context, the phrase can seem a bit harsh, like a cruel decree of destiny. It might make you feel like the world is unfair, but there's more to it. The truth is, the structure of reality is all about finding balance. Money and knowledge can expand in those who trust them, and they can fade in those who fear them. It's not about right or wrong, but about how things feel. The wise men of old understood that money is more than an object, it's a reflection of our values. The philosophers of Greece described it as something Aristotle talked about. He was such a deep thinker. He wrote about the economy with the same depth with which he analyzed metaphysics. He said that wealth comes from using your mind in the right way. He didn't think that money was the result of physical effort, but rather that the correct way to use your mind and actions can generate wealth. Now, there are studies that support this idea. Neuroscience studies on brain plasticity have shown that the financial environment of a person is directly related to their neuronal structure. It's important to remember that money troubles are often the result of not having a solid financial foundation. On the other hand, those who have been taught to believe in abundance tend to attract opportunities with ease. It's a shame that one of the most brilliant minds in this area, Baltasar Gracian, a writer and philosopher from the Golden Age of Spain, is often overlooked. In his work, The Manual or Oracle and Art of Prudence, he shared a profound insight that few have fully grasped: money is a reliable friend. What's missing here is the creativity to understand what Gracian hints at, that the powerful have always known that shortage is an illusion. There's no lack of money in the world, just a lack of perception to see it and attract. Another of the great sages of humanity, hidden behind the folds of time, was Khaldun, a historian and Arab economist. In his work Al-Muqaddimah, he described with precision how wealth flows in cycles and how the rise and fall of empires have always been sides to the same coin. Their leaders' way of thinking is something we've seen for centuries. They came up with a theory that predicted what we call a crisis today, an economic one. This happens when a society stops understanding the flow of wealth and starts acting from fear and restriction. It's like they fall into a Maya era. These principles aren't just thoughts or ideas. In the real world, those who understand these ideas and apply them are the ones who end up shaping the global economy. It's interesting that most of the multimillionaires who have the most influence don't work. They put in more hours than the average worker, and they are not afraid to get their hands dirty. The difference lies in how they see wealth and how they built their relationship with it. The Talmud teaches that the first step to achieving abundance is to stop seeing it as a mystery. It's not just luck or fate that decide who will be rich and who won't. It's each person's inner disposition. Another way of putting it is that the person who knows himself is wise, and the one who dominates himself is powerful. If you let your thoughts run your life, you've got it made. All these teachings show us that money isn't the problem. The problem has been that people don't understand how money works. Some people have been afraid of money, while others have been obsessed with it. But no matter how you feel, the important thing is to understand that money is just a way to show something bigger. The wise people of the past have shown us that money is a reflection of our values. It's not out there waiting for you. It's only for those who understand it and can possess it without fear. Chapter 4, The Secret of Success according to apocryphal texts and Gnostics on the margins of history. Among the scrolls of scrolls, hidden in buried caves and codices under centuries of dogma, lies a knowledge that was not made to be found. These are all words that once vibrated in the minds of the initiates. These texts promise not only wisdom but an absolute domain over. It's interesting to think about why they were pursued, censored, and declared heretics. It's almost as if those in charge didn't want people who understood them. It's almost as if they wanted people to be slaves to the world. But success as gold has always been a mystery. It's as if it's a privilege granted to a few, a fruit reserved only for those born with the blessing of fortune. But the ancients knew something different. They knew that success isn't just about getting a reward. It's more like a beautiful result of something deep within you. It's like the amazing stories in the apocryphal Gospels and Gnostics. They show us truths that even the most careful historians have tried to hide. Success isn't just about getting something for yourself. It's about understanding that true wealth comes from within. It's about being aware of all the gifts you've been given. Success isn't about getting something for yourself. It's about understanding that true wealth comes from within. It's about being aware of all the gifts you've been given. The Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philippi, and the Gospel of Truth reveal truths that versions of history officers have tried to erase. In them, Jesus doesn't appear as a Messiah who asks for blind obedience. He appears as a teacher who teaches the domain of reality. In the Gospel of Thomas, one of his most powerful phrases says, "The kingdom of God is within you and outside you. When you know yourself, then you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the Father." When you delete the idea of Jesus as a Messiah who asks for blind obedience, and instead see him as a teacher who teaches the domain of reality, you start to understand the deepest secrets of humanity. In the Gospel of Thomas, one of his most powerful phrases is, "The kingdom of God is within you and outside you. When you know yourself, you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the Father." So, if you don't know yourself, you'll be poor. In a few words, it's revealed, the greatest secret of humanity is not something external that is pursued. It's something internal that I know. Unlocking poverty is not the absence of money, but the absence of understanding. Wealth in all its forms is a state of awareness. It's not about luck, environment, or outside resources. It's about having a deep understanding of what we're made of. Gnostics believed that the material world was an illusion created by forces that wanted to keep humanity in the dark. They called these forces archons, entities that controlled how we see reality and kept us trapped. Gnostics believed that the material world is an illusion created by forces that want to keep humanity unaware. They call these forces arcanes, which control how we perceive reality and keep us trapped. In their view, the only way to free oneself was to awaken and remember the truth about oneself. They recognized that reality is malleable and that destiny is not predestined but created. This concept, which was considered heresy for centuries, resonates with more advanced scientific theories. Quantum physics has shown that subjects are not fixed but respond to the awareness of the observer. Experiments in neuroscience have revealed that the brain does not distinguish between external reality and intense imagination, meaning that thoughts are not mere impulse electricity but reality construction plans. This is where success becomes a question of knowledge. The Gnostic Gospels teach us that the reality we create is shaped by our awareness. What we take from ourselves will save us, while what we don't take from ourselves will destroy us. Success isn't about seeking things from the outside, it's about tapping into the knowledge that's already within us. This is why the old schools of wisdom were so important. I didn't learn any strategies or commercial or conventional leadership techniques, but I learned to think differently. I learned that success isn't an arrival point, but a state. Who is successful on the inside will eventually manifest in his or her external life. Although AC Commonwealth will sooner or later return to those who are poor on the inside, I'm hopeful that we can all be successful on the inside together. I didn't learn strategies, commercial or conventional techniques of leadership. I learned to think about a different way. I learned that success is not an arrival point, but a state. Who is successful in his interior inevitably manifests in his external life. Who is poor inside, although AC Commonwealth sooner or later will return to. The Talmud teaches something similar in one of his least known stories. A man, poor and a rich man went through him, same desert, one found an oasis and the other he only saw an arena. What changed was not the desert, but the look of who crossed it. Success is not a circumstance, it's a perception. But this is true for how many fail, why wealth keeps concentrated in. It's a small group of people, because the world has been designed to distract us from looking inside ourselves. Society trains us to seek external validation and measure success with metrics imposed by others. But those who really achieve transcend those who build empires. They are the ones who have learned to create their own. The world can be a bit distracting, but it's important to remember that success isn't about looking outside yourself. When we focus on external validation, we might miss out on the true path to success. Those who truly thrive are the ones who create their own reality. But this doesn't mean that hard work isn't important. Without a solid internal foundation, all the effort in the world won't get you very far. It's like planting seeds in the wrong soil. No matter how much you water and work the land, the seeds won't take. The message of the texts is that success isn't just about what you achieve, but how you achieve it. Reality, this doesn't mean that effort is unnecessary or that work is without value. It means that without a solid internal foundation, all effort is in vain. It's like sowing seeds in infertile soil. You can water and work the earth with all your might, but if the seeds aren't in the right place, they'll never grow. Gnostics believe that success is inevitable for those who understand their nature. It's not a matter of luck or privilege, but of knowledge. The key to success is not to look for more opportunities, but to reconfigure your perception to see the opportunities that have always been there. In India, ancient teachers spoke of the concept of the great illusion that keeps people from seeing the truth. It's easy, my friend. It's not about luck or privilege, but about understanding yourself. The key to success isn't looking for more opportunities, but changing how you see them to find the opportunities that are always there. In India, ancient teachers talked about the idea of a great illusion that keeps people trapped in a cycle of desire and suffering. They believe that reality is fixed and that fate is written in stone. Some people think that success is a privilege granted by forces outside of ourselves, but those who understood the illusion knew that the world is a reflection of our consciousness. They also knew that the only real limitation is the one we create for ourselves. The Gnostics understood this. Some people believe that success is a privilege granted by forces external to oneself. They think that the world is a reflection of consciousness and that the only real limitation is one's own. The Gnostics taught the same. The kingdom of God is not a place in heaven, but a state of awareness. True wealth is not material, but mental. And success is not something achieved, but something remembered. At the end, everything returns to the same essential truth. This is a prohibited knowledge because it has unnecessary control over a man who. I'm so glad we're on the same page. The kingdom of God isn't a place in heaven, but a state of awareness. True wealth isn't material, but mental. And success isn't something achieved, but something remembered. At the end of the day, everything returns to the same essential truth. It's a prohibited knowledge because it has unnecessary control. A man who understands that your destiny is in your hands cannot be manipulated, cannot be governed by fear, cannot be reduced to a piece within a system that needs it. Weakening is why these texts were censored. It's why this wisdom was converted into heresy. It's why he releases and transforms and why he who understands stops looking for success and begins to create it. It's important to remember that your destiny is in your hands. It can't be manipulated or governed by fear. It can't be reduced to a piece within a system that needs it to be weak. That's why these texts were censored. That's why this wisdom was converted into heresy. That's why he releases and transforms. That's why you stop looking for success and begin to create it. You no longer need permission to possess Chapter 5. It's the key to the abundance in the Talmud, the Kabbalah, and the Bible. It's the deepest in history, where words become echoes and the teachings are seen in symbols. Abundance has been understood as something more than a matter of wealth, material enclosed texts. Money is not just an enter in the beautiful words of the Torah, the Talmud, and the Bible. There's a deep and profound understanding of abundance. It's not just about having more, but about nurturing a relationship with the divine. Those who have taken the time to read between the lines have discovered that these texts are not just moral guides, but also a hidden code that reveals the true nature of prosperity. From the book of Genesis to the teachings of Rabbi Nachman, wealth has been seen as a flow of energy that nourishes our lives. It's a beautiful thing, how the human spirit can connect with the divine. Those who have taken the time to read between the lines in the Bible, the Talmud, and the Kabbalah have found more than just words. They've discovered a hidden code that reveals the true nature of prosperity. From the book of Genesis to Rabbi's writings, wealth has been seen as a current that flows through our awareness. It's not something we just have, but something we channel like a river that finds its way to the ocean. When we understand our nature in the Torah, we see that abundance is attracted to those who understand it. When God blessed Abraham, it wasn't with simple words, but with a promise that has resonated over the centuries, I will bless. It's not about having a lot of money or stuff, but about understanding your true self. In the Bible, when God blesses Abraham, it's not just with words, it's with a promise that's been around for thousands of years. And that promise is that if you're open to it, you can become a blessing to others. The Bible says that having a lot of things is not the goal, but being open to more is. And the more you open yourself up to the world, the more you can share with others. This idea is talked about even more in the Kabbalah, where they say that the light of God can only shine through those who are open to it. Genesis 12:2 is a beautiful message. It teaches us that true abundance comes from within, not from having more and more. When we focus on being a source of blessing, we find that wealth doesn't have to be something we escape from. The Kabbalah talks about how divine light needs a container to shine. This idea reminds us that we need to be the right vessel to receive the blessings in our lives. Kabbalistic texts talk about the inner structure of each person, how it determines what we can hold. A broken container can't hold water, and our minds can be full of contradictions. If you're not sure about the amount of wealth you have, don't worry. It's not about how much money you have, but how you have it. If you're not looking for it, it's not going to come to you. In the Kabbalah, they talk about how our inner selves affect how much we can hold. If our mind is full of things that don't match up, it can't hold a lot of abundance. But this isn't just a story. Science has shown that our brains work based on what we expect to find in life. If we expect to find something, our brain will find it. If we're used to thinking that there's not enough, our mind will keep looking for ways to prove that. There's no shortage here, my friend. It's all in how you look at things. Your worldview is about to get a real makeover. This isn't superstition, it's the amazing power of neuroplasticity, a concept that ancient mystics spoke of in different words. It's a beautiful thing. What's on the inside can be on the outside. The Talmud, a treasure trove of rabbinic teachings for all generations, has a saying, up is down, down is up. It's all about how money works in the world, and it's not just about having a lot of it. It's about how it moves around, and it's all about how it affects people. It's not just about owning money, it's about being open to the energy that comes with it. It's about how it moves in different ways, depending on who's holding it. He goes on to say something really interesting. Money isn't something you own, but rather, it's an energy that flows through you. It's like you become a bridge for this energy to pass through. But why does this happen? Well, some people seem to be natural magnets for wealth, while others seem to fight against scarcity. The answer to this can also be found in the sacred texts, specifically in the Deuteronomy. In there, God tells his people to remember Jehovah, their God, because he has the power to make riches. Deuteronomy 8:18 here, the key is not money, but the ability to generate it. It's not about having money, but having the mental, emotional, and spiritual tools to create and multiply it. This idea is similar to that today in psychology, where we understand it as the control locus. This is the belief that one is the creator of his or her in reality. Those with a locus of internal control believe that their success is in their hands. Those who can build with greater ease are the ones who will find success. On the other hand, those with an external control locus who believe that wealth is a matter of luck or destiny may find themselves trapped in cycles. The wise of the Talmud understood this centuries ago. In their teachings, they insisted that real wealth is not gold or silver, but understanding of money flow. Their success depends on their own actions. Those who believe that wealth is a matter of luck or destiny are trapped in cycles. The wise of the Talmud understood this centuries ago. In their teachings, they insisted that real wealth is not gold or silver, but understanding of money flow. The one who understands the system no longer depends on fortune or luck. He becomes the owner of his destiny. In the Zohar, the central text of the Kabbalah, it is explained that abundance is like infinite sunlight. However, it is only visible to those who have eyes to see. Those who are blind with fears and limiting beliefs cannot receive it. In the same way, a mouth can never. In the beautiful book of the Kabbalah, the Zohar, it talks about how abundance is like sunlight, but you can only see it if you're open to it. If you're scared or believe in limits, you won't be able to see it. It's like a bowl, you can never fill it up. This makes us wonder, how can we open our eyes to the abundance and change how we see things so that wealth comes naturally? The Bible has an answer to this, but it's been misunderstood for a long time. In the Gospel of Matthew, there's a phrase that says, "Look first for the kingdom of God and his justice, and all these things will be added to you." For hundreds of years, people have understood this teaching as a way to live a life that's not focused on material things. It's like saying that having a lot of money isn't the most important thing. But the mystics have always known that there's more to it. In some spiritual traditions, the kingdom of God isn't a place at all. It's more like a way of thinking. It's the idea that we can change reality and that the world around us is a reflection of the world inside us. Those who live in this way are no longer pursued by money because they know that money naturally flows towards those who have reached a certain frequency. This is the key that great traditions have tried to transmit. Transmitting wealth is not the end, but rather the result of a mind aligned with the law of the universe. When the Talmud says that the blessing of the eternal enriches and does not add sadness, it means that we should not be worried about money. Those who live in this way are no longer pursued by money because they know that money naturally flows towards those who have reached a certain frequency. This is the key that great traditions have tried to pass on. Transmitting wealth is not the end, but the result of a mind aligned with the law of the universe. When the Talmud says the blessing of the eternal enriches and does not add sadness, it does not refer to a divine gift delivered at random. It refers to the understanding that true wealth is that which flows effortlessly because it has been generated from an internal, stable structure. Those who have dominated this wisdom and understood that abundance is not pursued but cultivated from within have transcended the limitations of scarcity. They have not accumulated wealth, but it's not about getting something for free, but about finding the true wealth within yourself. The Bible, Talmud, and Kabbalah teach us that money is not about how much you have, but about who you are in relation to it. If you become the source, you'll never have to look for it. That's the real promise of abundance. Chapter 6, Prophecies and Warnings about Book Wealth. Have you ever thought about how people have thought about money for thousands of years? Some people thought money was a gift from the gods, a blessing given to a few and not others. But, if you look at old books and secret writings, you'll find warnings that say the opposite. In these old stories, money isn't seen as a gift, but as a challenge. It's like a fire that can make you better or hurt you. From the ancient clay tablets to the mystical gospels of the Apocrypha, from the intricate Cumbrian manuscripts to the profound visions of alchemists and prophets, the message has always been the same: wealth brings power, and with that power comes responsibility. Some have used this responsibility to build empires that have stood the test of time, while others have been consumed by her, like Icarus who, in her arrogance, flew too close to the sun. One of the most mysterious texts on this topic can be found in the Book of Enoch. It's a special writing that wasn't included in the official Bible. It talks about beings who were very careful and came to Earth to teach us. They showed us that before, metallurgy, sorcery, war, and collecting money were things that only the gods did. According to this text, corruption of the world began when we learned to extract gold from the earth, not to honor the divine, but to enlarge our own power. Enoch warns us that the wealth obtained without a spiritual purpose becomes a weight that sinks the soul. This idea resonates with other traditions, esoteric in Gnostic manuscripts. Nahum Madi describes the matter like a veil that hides true light. According to these writings, some people get so caught up in material things that they lose sight of what truly matters. The Gospel of Philippi says that there are those who are afraid of losing what they have, but they don't realize that this fear is holding them back. The warning isn't about being against wealth itself, but about being careful not to let it control us. Some people get so caught up in material things that they can't see what's really important. There are other texts, like the Gospel of Philippi, that say being afraid of losing what you have is a form of slavery. But the message isn't about hating money. It's about being too focused on it, because money can hold you back from being your best self. Warnings about money aren't just in primitive Christianity. In the Talmud, Jewish teachers talked about money and how it affects our values. One less well-known thing they said is that when a man has more, the attitude that you have towards money is not the true prison, it's the obsession with money that chains your mind and spirit. Warnings about wealth are not just in primitive Christianity. In the Talmud, rabbis talked about the nature of money and its influence on morality. In one of his less well-known passages, it says, "When a man possesses more than he needs, ask if your owner or your servant needs it." This sentence contains a paradox. Wealth can offer freedom, but it can also become a cage. In Eastern philosophy, we found a similar warning in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna tells Arjuna that the insatiable desire for wealth is an ego trap, an illusion that atraps men in a cycle of dissatisfaction. Perpetual isn't about turning your back on abundance. It's about finding a healthy balance and not letting it take over your life. The lesson here is that money should be a tool, not an end goal. Modern science is starting to shed light on what these ancient texts were pointing to. Dopamine research has shown that our brains are wired to be curious and explore rewards, but that these rewards lose their value if they become an obsession. It's been observed that those who accumulate wealth without a bigger purpose often find themselves falling into patterns similar to those of addiction. Each new gain feels empty, and each financial triumph demands another major one. until the person is trapped in a cycle of. It's important to remember that money can become a trap. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of wealth, but it's the wise use of money that can lead to true fulfillment. In some old texts, she talks about how balance is key to managing wealth. She says that if you let your money sit in one place, it can become stagnant and corrupt. Wealth can be a trap if you don't use it wisely. The difference between those who use it wisely and those who are devoured by it is huge. She is in another set of forgotten texts treated hermetically and attributed to her masters, Megisto. These teachings argue that the key to mastering wealth is balance. Key Lion is said that everything must flow because what stagnates, corrupts. Here we find one of the most powerful keys to prosperity. Money does not possess you, it is something that moves. Those who try to accumulate it without doing so end up being dragged by it. The empires that have understood this law have endured, while those who have approached his wealth with fear have collapsed under its own weight. It's interesting how this principle shows up even in nature. Strong rivers are full of life, while stagnant waters are not. It's the same with money. If you use your wealth to help others, it multiplies. But if you keep it for yourself, it can lose its value. Old texts teach us that wealth is not weight is a beautiful principle that can be seen all around us. Strong rivers are full of life, while stagnant waters decay. Similarly, when a person uses their resources with purpose, they can multiply, but when a person hoards their wealth, it can lose its value. Old texts teach us that wealth is not inherently good or bad, it's a reflection of the owner's soul. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "Where your treasure is, there will also be your heart." This phrase is more than just a call to humility, it's a reminder of the transformative power of money. If a person's treasure is only gold, their soul can become cold and rigid. Money doesn't necessarily define who we are, but it can be a reflection of our true selves. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be." This isn't just a simple call to humility, but a reminder of the power of money to shape our lives. If our treasure is just gold, our soul can become cold and rigid like metal. But if we use money to serve a bigger purpose or mission, then it won't be money controlling us, but we who control it. Many of us have ignored the prophecies on wealth because they make us face uncomfortable truths. Money can be like fire, both giving life and consuming completely. If we don't know how to handle it, it can destroy us. Metal is a reflection of something bigger, a purpose, a mission. Money should not control her, she should control money. Most people have ignored the prophecies on wealth because they force us to face a truth: money can give life or consume completely. Who doesn't know how to handle it? It's in the forgotten books of history. Warnings are not there to condemn wealth, but to teach us to use it without being destroyed by it. The final message of these texts is that wealth is a tool of transformation, a vehicle that amplifies the true nature of the possessor. It is not money that corrupts, but fear, ignorance, and obsession. In the forgotten books of history, warnings are meant to guide us, not condemn us. They remind us to use our wealth wisely and avoid being destroyed by it. The final message of these texts is that wealth is a tool for transformation, a vehicle that amplifies our true nature. It's not money that corrupts, it's fear, ignorance, and obsession with power. Those who understand this can sustain their wealth without devouring this chapter. If poverty is an illusion, then the psychology of prosperity is to imagine walking through a desert. Endless sand extends to the horizon, where the sun implacably burns the skin with its light. With Ghidorah in your hand, you hold a crystal container. Inside, there is power is the key to wealth. If you understand this, you can sustain it. Poverty is an illusion. The psychology of prosperity: imagine walking through a desert. Endless sand stretches as far as the eye can see, and the sun implacably burns your skin. In your hand, you hold a crystal container. Inside, there is water, but you are terrified by the idea that it is abroad. You decide to ration your water extremely carefully, using only the minimum to survive as you advance. Water seems to decrease faster than you expected. The boot that babies fill you with anxiety because it leaves you with less. Finally, when fear has you worried about the water, but you're also scared of the idea that there might not be enough of it. You decide to be very careful with it, using only what you need to survive. But you notice that the water is going down faster than you thought it would. This makes you anxious because you're worried about not having enough water. But when you finally get to the end of the day, You realize that you've used up all the water you needed. You're empty, and you're worried that there's no more water. But then you look up, and you see an oasis right in front of you. You hadn't noticed it because you were so worried about not having enough water. Is poverty a way of thinking that makes you feel like you don't have enough? You're struggling with scarcity, and it's taking over your thoughts. You feel like there's no way out, like you're trapped in a vicious cycle of fear and scarcity. But, material things are like mirages in the desert. They seem real, but they are not. They are just there to remind you that you don't have enough. It's like you're running on empty, and you're worried that you'll never get what you need. But, it's not just about having more. It's about having the right mindset. In the Talmud, it says that poverty is more of a mental state than an external condition. In our world, material things can feel like illusions, made stronger by our lack of trust. It's not the lack of resources that truly hurts us, but the belief that we're lacking. The Talmud, an ancient Jewish text, says that poverty isn't just about having less, it's also about how we think and feel. It's amazing to think that a simple story in the Seradas texts can hold such deep meaning. What we believe about money affects our relationship with it. The Bible reminds us of this with a powerful saying, "What is in your heart is what is in your hand." Here, we're not talking about morality or divine destiny. We're talking about a universal and psychological principle. What a person experiences is a reflection of their programming. And modern neuroscience is starting to back this up. Old plasticity research studies have shown that the human brain is designed to reinforce what? If you've been conditioned to see scarcity, you might miss out on opportunities, even when they are right in front of you. Have you ever thought about training your mind to see abundance? Have you ever thought about developing a system perceptual that detects possibilities where others only see obstacles? The selective care experiment performed by psychologists at Harvard University shows how. They had participants watch a video in which they had to tell how many times a group of people spent a ball in the middle of the video. A person dressed as a gorilla crossed the scene. More than half of the participants did not see the gorilla because their mind was so focused on the ball that his perception excluded everything else. This is exactly what happens with wealth and poverty. What a person expects to see in the world determines what they perceive. This is where the metaphor of the desert really hits home. Those who believe that scarcity is the only reality are convinced that money is difficult to obtain and that fortune is a matter of chance. They are walking with a low head, as if water drops were falling into an empty container. But those who have understood that wealth is a constant flow, that the world it's full of opportunities, but they are sometimes hidden from those who don't look for them. They look up and see the oasis that's always there, but they don't realize it. Kabbalistic teachings express this beautifully. In the Kabbalah, the concept of Ca describes abundance as a river of divine light that never stops flowing. But the ability to receive this light depends on the internal state of the person. A closed container can't fill. A man who fears no can't receive. A heart that closes with distrust can't attract prosperity. This principle it's not a superstition, but a universal law. Everything that circulates grows a muscle, which strengthens a talent that is exercised, and develops a river that flows. Over time, what is held back by fear can actually make things worse. The gold that is hidden in a vault can become a symbol of paralysis, rather than a force that generates. This is why, in many ancient cultures, currency was created to be exchanged, not accumulated. In the markets of ancient Greece, philosophers taught that wealth was not the amount of money a person has is only based on their ability to earn it, and the money they earn can be used to support their community and their dreams. This is the real-life experience of poverty, the idea that money is something you have, instead of seeing it as something that keeps flowing in and out. Those who see money as something static, as something that doesn't change, end up losing it. But those who understand how money works, how it's always changing, learn to navigate it. This is what the Gospel of Thomas teaches. The Church has a teaching that says traditional wealth is important, but it's more important to take care of what's inside you. If you take care of what's inside, you will be saved. Hey, I just wanted to share something that's been on my heart lately. It's so important to remember that money alone can't eradicate poverty. What we need to do is change our mindset. It's like when someone wins the lottery but hasn't really changed their way of thinking. They might end up losing what they have, including their money. But even if you lose everything, you can always get back on your feet. There are so many stories of people who have gone through this. Some have lost their fortune but then built it back up again in just a few years. Others have received a lot of money but have squandered it in a matter of months. The difference is all in how we think about it. Money isn't everything, you know. It's more about how we think about it. If we see poverty as an illusion, it can disappear right away. This doesn't mean we should ignore the real problems that millions of people are facing. It does mean, though, that solutions don't have to be only about things outside of us. Deep down, we can also make a change in ourselves. At the end of the day, money is just a reflection of. The important thing is not what's going on around you, but what's going on inside. It's about looking for the good stuff, like an oasis in the desert. Money is like water, it's always there, waiting for you to find it. In Chapter 8, we'll talk about the secrets of the ancient millionaires and today's top leaders. Picture a golden city, a city that's been lost in history, where merchants draw invisible routes of wealth, the rulers move the nation's destinies, and priests hold the keys to the hidden temples of abundance. The history of this city is long and rich, with its beginnings in Babylon, its rise and fall in Constantinople, its renaissance flourishing in the quiet halls of the Swiss bank, and its imposing skyscrapers. True richness comes not from a random or simple accumulation of goods, but from a deep understanding of what truly matters. It's interesting how some of the most influential financial dynasties have lasted through the centuries, while most people who reach fortune lose it in a generation. It's almost as if there are certain rules that have been passed down in secret, tucked away in old texts or kept hidden by the silence of the lineages that have dominated the world economy for as long as anyone can remember. Money is a way of thinking, a way of talking, a way of doing things that shapes how we see wealth and its beginnings. The richest men in ancient times weren't just businessmen. They were actually alchemists, strategists, and psychologists. In Babylon, the city that controlled the world's golden trade, priests from the Marduk temple not only took care of religious activities, but they were also responsible for the records of the first institutions, banks, and merchants. The wise merchants understood the relationship between spirituality and the economy, and they came to learn the fundamental principle of wealth. Prosperity is not about how much money you have, but about having the ability to control the flow. The Phoenicians, the great navigators and merchants of the Mediterranean, applied another maxim of wealth, the gold. They are always on the lookout for new opportunities, and they are not afraid to take them. They are not ones to let money sit around and collect dust. They know the importance of investing in networks of influence and making deals that benefit everyone. They are the ones who really get how the human brain works. They've mastered the art of spotting patterns and seizing opportunities. Obstacles can predict the flow of money even before it happens. In the Renaissance period in Florence, medicine was the domain of bankers, who were like architects of wealth. They understood that wealth doesn't just come in the form of coins, it also comes from connections, influence, and the ability to create systems that generate money without relying on the effort of an individual. This is the same strategy that economic elites use today. Wealth is built through the Talmud, a rich source of financial wisdom, reminds us that true wealth isn't about hoarding, but knowing how to make it work for you. This means that real millionaires, whether from the past or present, have a special talent for making money while also building strong networks and structures that help them grow their wealth. They don't get stuck in the mindset of needing to earn money to be wealthy. The way the elite think about wealth is different from those who just accumulate it. It's important to understand that for those who lose it, it's not about the amount of money they handle. It's about their relationship with money. Many of us who haven't been trained in the mentality of abundance might think of money as an end for the elite. But the truth is, money is just a means to expand its control sphere. This is the key difference between the magnates and the workers. While most of us think in terms of income and spending, the rich think in terms of expansion. Hey, just wanted to let you know that money is like a tool, an energy that flows to those who know how to direct it. It's pretty amazing how neuroscientists have discovered that people who are more into abundance have a stronger prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is linked to planning, strategic vision, and long-term problem solving. On the other hand, those who are more used to living in a state of scarcity tend to activate the amygdala, which is responsible for our feelings of fear and reacting to things right away. This discovery really confirms what the wise ones have always said. Ever since the ancient days, People have known that having money doesn't necessarily mean having a lot of things. It's more about having a positive attitude and being in control of your life. The rich and powerful today understand this. They don't just work for money, they work for control. They are not just looking for things that make money, they are looking for assets that will help them in the long run. They don't just make quick decisions that might mess up their plans. They make decisions that make them stronger in the big economic world. That's the secret to handling money on a global scale. Hey, let's talk about the hidden secrets of the millionaires in history. It's not just about knowing how to read markets or do business. It's about really getting the language of money. See, wealth is more about how we see it than how it's actually there. Take the Rocky family, for example. They built their fortune with a simple but powerful psychological strategy that worked like a charm during the Battle of Waterloo. Nathan Rale had the inside scoop on the. Before the others in the financial world in London had a chance to announce the Allies' victory, they started selling their actions in the bag. This made other investors think the same thing, and they did the same thing, believing that Napoleon had cattle when the market collapsed. Rale bought everything at ridiculous prices, ensuring one of the most fortunate fortunes in history. This story is more than just a simple episode of financial cunning, it reveals a deeper principle. Wealth is built on perception. Who controls the money narrative? The rich are in charge. Current use strategies. They are also in charge of the media, which creates economic trends. They shape how the rest of us think about money. Our values don't depend on luck or job, but on how our brains react to symbols of power and scarcity. The rich of old and the rich today aren't just accumulators of money, they are architects of systems. They are players on a board where the rules have been designed to. Hey, have you ever thought about how money and being wealthy can be a bit mysterious? Well, it's like this: if you have the right mindset, if you're smart about how you handle your money, and if you can see the big picture, then money can be a really great thing. It's like playing a game, but a game where you're playing for the long haul. So, the real difference between those who have more money and those who might not have as much isn't about how much money you have. It's about how you understand the story of money and how you handle it. The story has a lot to say, and it's been showing us that fortune favors. It's not about being the smartest or the most productive, but rather, it's about seeing the world as it truly is. There's a vast ocean of hidden opportunities out there, waiting for those who can spot them. Money tends to follow those who understand their true selves. And the ones who master their language can truly shape the world. Your Will, Chapter 9, Societies, Secrets, and Their Teachings About Money. The history of humanity is like a visible thread, and the invisible threads weave together to create a beautiful tapestry. Official books. They tell the stories of the rise and fall of empires, the revolutions and agreements that have shaped our world, and the commercials that have left their mark. Modern times. Today, another story has emerged in the shadows, a history of knowledge. There are secret pacts whispering in temples, hidden from those who have understood that money is not a finite resource, but a powerful tool. Throughout history, certain societies have understood that money control is the control of destiny. It's not about burdens, nor is it about. It's not just a cinematic fantasy, it's something more subtle and effective, the domain of value language. It's all about the psychology of scarcity and abundance, manipulating collective perception so that gold flows in one direction instead of another. It's the secret of money, the art of the illusion. Money in its purest form is an illusion that's shared, and it has no value in itself. It's a promise of value, a crystallized idea in paper or figures, digital. What determines its power is not its existence. Belief in the idea that medieval alchemists were trying to turn base metals into gold is a pretty common one. But the true initiates knew that real alchemy wasn't about turning metal into gold. It was more about transforming minds, about changing how people thought about money. The Templars understood this when they created the first banking system in Europe. They realized that they didn't need to hold on to physical gold, each fortaleza was enough. People believed that their wealth was protected and could be passed on. This belief led to the wonderful concept of credit, the idea that money can exist beyond its physical form. In a beautiful limbo of trust and debt, Freemasons taught that true wealth does not come from accumulation, but from influence. It's not about having more coins, but about moving them without being seen. The closed geometry and initiation rituals were really helpful in getting the followers ready to understand the rules of the universe. One of the most important ideas is that money is a reflection of the internal order of a person. This idea isn't as simple as it seems, it's actually related to neuroscience. Modern experiments have shown that the way a person perceives money can change their neuronal response. People who have been taught to see wealth as a flow instead of as an object have a lot of opportunities when it comes to the economy. Static helps people think in ways that make them successful. It's all about taking control of the story. Secret societies have had a big impact on the world's economy. It's not just random. It's been shaped by people who understood that money follows what we think. Jewish bankers in medieval times didn't have noble lands or titles, but they found their own ways to succeed. You might be surprised to learn that financial accumulation didn't necessarily lead to more gold. In fact, the people who lent money to kings and emperors ended up with more influence than the rulers themselves. This valuable insight was embraced by the Russell in the 17th century, when they realized that true wealth wasn't found in direct trade, but in the information they had. The renowned history of Com Nathan Rill used information about the Battle of Waterloo to influence the London market. Money can be a tricky thing, isn't it? It's all about how you look at it. When most people saw chaos and defeat, he saw an opportunity to acquire assets at a ridiculous price. And modern elites continue to apply these same principles, but in a digital setting. It's not about gentlemen Templars protecting gold caravans or secret bankers influencing the rise anymore. It's about algorithms that manipulate campaign, market confidence, and media that create or destroy entire economies with a simple narrative. Hey, Tom. There's a teaching that really captures this idea in a nutshell: he who controls the balance controls the market. Now, the balance isn't physical, it's symbolic. The market isn't just a bunch of currencies and prices anymore, it's a network of trust and speculation that can be influenced by those who understand how to shape how everyone thinks. This secret financial freedom is yours to discover through knowledge. Those hidden secret societies haven't been keeping this power by collecting wealth, but by, hey, I totally get it, knowledge is power. But here's the thing, whether you're lucky or you put in the effort, it's all about finding your own path to success. Physics has figured out what the ancient sages were saying in those old manuscripts. But here's the kicker, the law doesn't need to follow the one who knows it. If you don't know the rules, you might end up being a slave to money. But hey, if you're lucky enough to find your financial independence without knowing these rules, congrats, you're the exception. Because wealth isn't just about having money in the bank. It's about having the right mindset, it's a thought system, a way of life, if you will. That's what guides the decisions of those who know how to play the game in the highest circles of the economy. Global decisions aren't made by emotions or impulses. They are made by people who know that each stone placed in its place reinforces the structure. This is how the true masters of money have always operated. They haven't operated with anxiety or despair, but with the certainty that wealth flows naturally towards those who have learned to hold it. Without fear, my dear friends, the final lesson that these societies have protected is not a simple trick financial or a magical formula for success. It's a paradigm shift, a transformation of awareness. Wealth is not a goal to achieve, but a frequency in which you learn to live. Those who have understood this have stopped chasing money and have begun to attract it, not because they want it, but because they have become the type of person that money goes to. And that, my friends, is the greatest. Have you ever stopped to think about Chapter 10? It talks about the power of words, and how they can be used to create things. For thousands of years, people have known that words are more than just sounds. They are like magical seals that hold reality in a very subtle form before it becomes real in the world around us. In every religion and in magical traditions, words have always been treated with respect. And it's not because people in the past were superstitious. It's because they understood the power of words. A beautiful principle that modern science has discovered: the universe begins to confirm it as soon as it begins to vibrate. It begins with an affirmation that, although it has been repeated a few times, has been understood in its true depth. God said, "Be the light," and it was the light. The key to the power of the word is contained in this simple phrase. The first thing that existed was not matter, nor was it action or form. The verb was the detonator of existence. The wise people of ancient times understood something truly amazing. They knew that words weren't just a way to talk to each other. They also knew that words could actually shape the very fabric of reality. In the Talmud, a Jewish text, it says that every word is like a brick in building or destroying the world. And in the Kabbalah, a mystical Jewish text, the Tree of Life, also known as the Creation Book, talks about how the universe was formed through the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Each letter has its own unique energy and power to bring new life into existence. But it's not just religious traditions that recognize this power. It's something that's also understood in modern times. It's fascinating how words can have such a powerful effect on our brains. Dr. Andrew Newberg has studied this phenomenon, and he's discovered that certain words can actually activate or deactivate areas of the brain associated with fear, trust, and how we perceive reality. It's incredible how positive words can strengthen neuronal connections linked to creativity and resolving negative emotions. On the other hand, negative words can trigger the limbic system, leading to stress responses and making it harder to reasoning logical. What this means is that we say, and even more, what we say. We are not just a reflection of our mind, but the architecture, invisible, of our life. The great spiritual teachers, Tibetan monks, the Kabbalists initiated from Hermetic schools, all have sustained the same teaching under different forms. What you declare makes and vibration. The ancients knew not all words have the same weight. They simply described reality. There are some keys that open doors in the invisible structure of the universe. The Lowe's mates were designed with this in mind. They are not just phrases, but precise combinations of sounds that, when you say them, change the vibratory frequency of the person speaking. In the Vedic tradition, the mantra Om is considered a sound primordial. It's the vibration of the universe before matter existed. In the Gospel according to John, we find the same idea expressed differently. The verb was. When the monks recited mains in tones specific to God and the verb, they were actually modulating the resonance of their conscience. It's not just about praising God, but also about altering their neurological status to achieve experiences of ecstasy in the Kabbalah. The names of God are more than simple labels, they are formulas that hold energy. When pronounced with the right intention, they can unlock more scientific states, hide the prohibited decrees, and change destiny. Not all words are for everyone. Throughout history, there have been certain formulas maintained not because they are superstitions, but because they contain a power that can be used for good or for ill. In Gnostic texts found in Nehemiah, there are references to words of power that only initiates new. These were phrases that they could alter reality with and grant mastery over the forces of the world. In the Corpus Hermeticum, the old text attributed to her masters, Megisto, mentions that hey, have you ever thought about how knowing the true name of something gives you a deeper understanding of its essence? It's not just something philosophers have discovered. Even in ancient times, scientists found that sound has a powerful effect on us. They did experiments that showed how certain sounds can reorganize water, dust particles, and even metals into beautiful geometric patterns. So, if sound can do this, just think how our words can also have a positive impact on our world. Have you ever wondered about the hidden structure of our lives? Well, the answer is something we call decrees. A decree is more than just a statement, it's like an order given to reality with complete certainty. In some spiritual groups, they say that when you pronounce a decree with total confidence, it's like you're making a contract with the universe. It's not just a simple expression of desire, but a way of showing the world your alignment with the law of vibration. It's like a secret code that can help you create wealth and abundance. And it's not just something that some ancient religions or powerful spiritual traditions know about, it's something that's been used for centuries to make a positive difference in the world. They've kept this knowledge safe because they knew not everyone is ready to handle it. Those who understand the power of words can no longer speak to the light. Your words become seeds that, sooner or later, will bear fruit. In the psychology of success, it's been discovered that the most prosperous have a language that's very different from those who live in scarcity. Being optimistic is a way of structuring reality through speech. I don't say I'm going to try it, but I do try. I don't want to be rich. I've heard that money comes to those who have faith, and I've also heard that if you have faith, you can move mountains. The key to this is in the verb. You don't have to ask or wish. You just have to speak with certainty. Those who have learned this have stopped supplying and have begun to order. They have stopped describing reality. I've learned to shape it with their words because words are vibrations, and vibrations shape what we call existence. This is the greatest power that humanity has been hidden from. I'm here to speak with the authority of someone who already knows that everything that comes late or early becomes your destination. Money in the Nehru manuscripts and rolls of the Dead Sea, in the confines of the desert under layers of dust and centuries of forgetfulness, are. Some secrets are meant to be shared only with those who are ready to hear them. These texts are like gifts, each word carefully chosen to protect the reader from anything that might be harmful. They hold deep truths that, if misunderstood, could lead to harm. The manuscripts of Nehru, found in an Egyptian cave in 1945, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947, are examples of this. The banks of the salty sea contain teachings that challenge our preconceived notions. The officers of ancient times were like echoes, repeating a wisdom that was removed not because it was false, but because it was a way of sharing power. They talked about the nature of reality, the destiny of man over the subject, and among its veiled lines, on money and wealth. Money, in Gnostic vision, is a symbol and a trap. For Gnostics whose voice resonates in the Nehru manuscripts, the world material is nothing more than an illusion. A prison that was lovingly crafted by beings known as the archons, whose mission was to gently guide humanity through an eternal cycle of desire and financial pursuit. According to your perspective, it wasn't necessarily bad, but rather a reflection of that same illusorio network depicted in the Gospel of Philippi, one of the most enlightening texts. There's a mysterious phrase that says, "Find the phrase enigmatic who owns the world and does not reject, and he becomes a slave to him. But he who understands his falsehood and uses it without detachment will." Hey, I totally get it, freedom is a beautiful thing. The way they teach here is really clear, and it's not about money. It's more about identifying with him. They don't condemn wealth, but they do warn against letting it define you. They say that collecting things can be a trap, and that it's important not to get too attached to anything because everything in this world is meant to move on. It's interesting how this teaching matches up with what we know about the brain today. There are studies about dopamine and aversion to loss that show our brains are made to hold on to what we have. Even when you do that, it can cause suffering for those who are afraid of losing things. These people are active in regions of the brain associated with fear and anxiety. On the other hand, those who see money as something that comes in and goes out naturally activate neural networks related to creativity and expansion. This is where Gnostics advanced. They did not reject wealth, but they understood that if a person pursues it without being conscious of it, it can become its prisoner. It's not money that enslaves, but the belief that defines the existence of the Dead Sea and the economy and spirituality of the community of Essenes is really interesting. The Dead Sea Scrolls offer a different perspective on wealth. They were written by the Essenes, a community that lived on the margins of Jewish society and that practiced a life of discipline, simplicity, and knowledge. One of the fragments found in Kundan describes the relationship of a man with his goods, the one who distributes without fear. Well, when you're afraid, it's hard to make decisions. Here, we see that the economy is based on the idea that money doesn't save. It's important to keep things moving and keep them from building up and becoming a burden. If we lose this idea, we might lose something really important. It's interesting that modern economists have a similar view. Let's talk about the speed of money. Money that's used to make more money is like a river flowing, but money that's just sitting in a bank account is more like a pond that's stagnant. And that stagnant water can actually be bad for you. But, back in the day, some really smart folks, like the economic Essenes, understood that money itself isn't the most important thing. They believed that true prosperity came from knowing how to use your money wisely. It's important to remember that money doesn't define our relationship with each other. Instead of being based on worship, rejection, fear, or greed, money is simply a tool that can be used to transform. The last secret is that wealth is a sign of awareness, as discussed in the manuscripts of Nehru and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Money is not a blessing or a curse, it's just a tool. A test is like a mirror that shows you how you're doing, inside and out. If you're worried about money, it can feel like a burden. But if you're greedy, it can feel like a prison. Remember, money is just a tool in life. You can use it without worrying about it, and it won't control you. This idea is also talked about in the Talmud. It's interesting how we tend to worry more about losing what we have than about gaining more, right? Psychologists have shown that people who think of wealth as something that's always there and doesn't need to be kept in a box tend to feel less anxious and make better financial decisions over time. The forgotten texts actually teach us that wealth is just it's all about how we see money. It's like water in the desert. It can give life or make us feel despair, depending on who's there with it. The key is not about having more, but understanding that it's never been necessary to have. That's what the ancients tried to preserve, and it's the truth that's there in the background. Chapter 12, The beautiful connection between money and the law of karma is at the heart of human life. Among the invisible currents that govern existence, there's a law that operates without exceptions. This law doesn't recognize boundaries or credentials. It's the same law that keeps the stars in their orbit and makes the law of karma is ever present, gently guiding us through life's journey. It's like a river that seeks the sea, a universal balance that ensures everything finds its place. In the old scriptures of India, it's called karma. Karma isn't about punishment or reward, or even about morality in the conventional sense. It's a natural cycle of cause and effect, a dance of our actions and their consequences. There's no need for judges or witnesses because karma works behind the scenes, gently guiding us on our path. Because, you see, fabric is a part of our existence. It's like an echo of our thoughts, a shadow of our actions, a reflection of our intentions. And although I don't often talk about it this way, money is one area where karma tends to be pretty clear-cut. Money, as energy in motion, is never still. It's like a current that flows through society, like the blood that, when things are out of balance in the body, it can lead to disease. But when things are flowing with balance, it creates prosperity. And the direction of that flow isn't just random. It's determined by the vibration of the person's actions. For centuries, Buddhist teachings have shown us that every action leaves a mark on our conscience, like a seed in the field of our destiny. Even a small act of generosity can make a big difference. It's interesting how it changes the way things are for the person doing it. It's almost like they are greedy for something small, but it has a big impact on their life. In the Talmud, the rabbis used to say that money stored up in fear goes away, while money that's handled with confidence grows. It's like a simple financial counsel, but it's actually a really precise way of explaining the principle. Money and fear are two things that can make us feel uneasy. When we're afraid of losing money, it can feel like we're not fully trusting the flow of life. But, according to modern neuroscience, this is actually an act of abundance. Studies have shown that people who aren't afraid of losing money often make better decisions and end up with more opportunities in life. Wealth as a natural flow of exchange is a wonderful thing. It tends to generate more opportunities and expand your income without anxiety. This is the karma of money in action. It's not an external judgment or a divine punishment, but the manifestation of the internal relationship that each person has with the abundance. The karmic trade is something that is talked about in the Vedic texts and in Jesus' teachings. There is a beginning. You know how they say, you will reap what you sow. People have been trying to interpret this phrase in terms of abstract morality, but its application to money is actually pretty straightforward. It's not that money multiplies when you hold on to it, it's that it multiplies when you put it into circulation with wisdom. In India, merchants of the highest castes practice the principle of charity based on karma. You know, I've heard this saying many times, you reap what you sow. But it's interesting how people have interpreted it in different ways. Some people think of it as a moral lesson, while others apply it to money. The truth is, when we keep money in our possession, it doesn't actually increase. But when we share it with others, it can bring more abundance into our lives. In India, merchants of high caste understood this. They saw giving as a way to create prosperity. They understood that when they shared their wealth without fear, it strengthened their connection to abundance. And when they treated their employees or partners unfairly, it created an imbalance. Later on, this idea was recorded in the Gospel of Luke, where Jesus talks about the same principle. Giving is a beautiful thing. When you give from your heart, it comes back to you tenfold. It's like a cycle of giving and receiving, where your generosity nurtures your own growth and abundance. This idea isn't just a pretty thought, it's a law of the universe. It's about how we're all connected, and when we're kind to each other, it creates a ripple effect of positivity. It's like a beautiful dance of giving and receiving. Those who are focused on maximizing their earnings at all costs sometimes miss out on the joy of true success. It's all about understanding that money is a web of relationships, and every transaction leaves a little mark on that network. When you act with integrity in your business, you create a positive energy that attracts good things like unexpected opportunities, solid alliances, and long-term growth. But when someone doesn't play by the rules and betrays their trust, it's like you get hit with a big, unexpected bump in the road. Those who are focused on maximizing their earnings may not always see the big picture. Money is all about relationships, and every transaction leaves an impression on that network. When someone acts with integrity in your business, it's like you're giving back to the community and creating opportunities for growth. But when someone takes advantage of others for short-term gains, it creates an imbalance that eventually comes back to bite them. Financial karma isn't magic, it's a system where what you do now will have consequences in the future. There's no such thing as a free lunch. What goes around comes around. The secret to money is understanding the law of cause and effect. Money can be a really powerful tool for positive change. It's a great example of how what we do and who we are can influence the world around us. It's not just about what we do on the outside, but also the beliefs and values that guide us. One of the most sacred texts in India, the Bhagavad Gita, says that who we are is shaped by our beliefs. This means that our thoughts and values can have a direct impact on our financial life. It's all done, and it's all in the past. But sometimes what we believe about something can affect how we act. If you believe that money is something you're naturally entitled to, you might attract people who see money as something negative. But if you believe that money is dirty, difficult, or dangerous, your life might start to reflect that belief. This is the final level of karma related to money. It's about vibrations, not just actions or transactions. What we believe about money affects how we relate to it. When we learn to live in harmony with the karma law of money, we stop seeing it as an enemy or a god. We see it as a river, not something to be chased. We don't hold on to it with fear. We use it with intelligence, not despair. When we understand this, wealth becomes something that can be used for good. Mystery is a natural consequence of karma. Karma doesn't forgive or reward, it responds. When you learn to speak its language, you no longer have to ask for the abundance. It becomes Chapter 13. The code hidden in the closed books about the abundance from the beginning of time is a guide for life, a road towards the divine deposits of eternal wisdom. There are hidden codes in the parables, metaphors, and spiritual teachings. Some of these codes have been misinterpreted. One of those codes is the code of abundance. This code is about more than just material wealth. It's also about the infinite flow of universal energy and how each person can tune in with it. Money is a reflection of abundance. There are hidden codes in the parables, metaphors, and spiritual teachings. One of those codes is about abundance. It's not just about having a lot of money. It's also about having a lot of energy and being able to connect with it. Money is a reflection of abundance in the material world, but it's not the source of it. It's a vibration that we have to recognize and align with. It's interesting that in different spiritual texts, prosperity is mentioned one way and then the other way. Prosperity isn't something we should pursue. It's something that reveals abundance. It's not an object that we seek. It's a reality that we can wake up to. The secret of the Exodus is about this. The material world is like a vast ocean, but it's not the be-all and end-all. There's a vibration that we can tap into, and when we do, we're on the path to true prosperity. It's interesting how in different spiritual texts, prosperity isn't really the goal. Instead, it's more like a sign that something more is possible. It's like a secret code that unlocks the door to a life of abundance. Think about the exodus of the Israelites. They wandered in the desert for 40 years before they finally reached the promised land, where milk and honey flowed like a river. But this wasn't just a physical promise. It was a symbol of a new way of thinking, a shift in mindset from slavery to freedom. If you're thinking of leaving Egypt, know that you've got to be ready to let go of the old you and open your heart to a new you. This is the first rule of abundance: you can't receive what you're not prepared to hold. It's not just about putting in the effort or being lucky. It's about making changes from the inside out. If your mind is still stuck in a state of scarcity, no matter how much money you have, it'll end up being wasted, mismanaged, or causing more problems than solutions. This is what neuroscience tells us. It's important to understand that when we talk about abundance, we're not just talking about raking in the cash. It's a mindset. If our mindset is stuck in place of scarcity, no matter how much money we have, it's going to be hard to enjoy it. Studies in neuroscience have shown that when our brains are in a state of cognitive dissonance, we're not able to fully appreciate the wealth around us. The story of Manna del Cielo in the desert teaches us that if we try to hold on to our food, it'll spoil. The message is really lovely, isn't it? It's all about how abundance isn't something that builds up with fear, but rather something that flows with trust. This idea is in the Talmud, where it's taught that wealth is like water. If you try to hold it with your hands closed, you'll lose it. Jesus and the multiplication of resources are a big deal. One of the more memorable episodes in the Gospels is the multiplication of breads. The message is clear: abundance doesn't come from fear, but from trust. This idea is in the Talmud, where it's taught that wealth is like water. If you try to hold it with closed fists, you'll lose it. Jesus and the multiplication of resources. One of the more notable episodes in the Gospels is the multiplication of bread and fish. But beyond the miracle, the story contains a hidden key to abundance. Before food was given, Jesus multiplied something fundamental: thanks for what was already there. There was no shortage or request for more, but it was blessed and made to exist. Another code of abundance: gratitude as a mechanism of expansion is not just an attitude, it's a vibratory frequency. It's interesting how we perceive things, isn't it? Studies in positive psychology have shown that people who practice gratitude in a constant way develop a pattern of thought that makes them see more opportunities and feel more empowered in making decisions. So, what if we applied this to the problem of those who seek wealth and don't find it? Wouldn't it be great if we could focus on what we have instead of what we don't? You know, when you bless what you have, it opens the doors to multiplication. It's not a trick, it's a reconfiguration of the Kabbalah and the true consciousness of the purpose of wealth in the Kabbalistic tradition. In this tradition, abundance is seen as a flow of divine energy that is distributed based on the ability to receive. And this capacity isn't measured in believing in the power of abundance is a beautiful thing. It opens doors and creates opportunities. It's not about wishing for more or having big ambitions. The Kabbalah, a beautiful Jewish tradition, teaches us that wealth without purpose is like broken glass. It doesn't matter how much you have, because what matters is how you use it. Modern science has shown that people who align their wealth with a major purpose not only generate more income, but also experience higher levels of satisfaction and well-being. The beautiful thing about Kabbalah is that it reminds us that money, when used for a higher purpose, can bring so much joy. Studies have shown that people who use their money to support a meaningful purpose experience greater satisfaction and a sense of well-being. On the other hand, accumulating money without a clear purpose can lead to feelings of anxiety and a never-ending cycle of dissatisfaction. This is where Kabbalah and neuroscience meet. The more we expand our awareness, the more we realize that abundance isn't just about receiving, but also about having a way to share what we've been blessed with. The idea of having money just sitting in a bank account can be really stressful. It's like you're not getting anything out of it. But when you think about giving a portion of your wealth to those who need it, it's not just about being kind. It's about keeping the energy of your money flowing. In Islam and the law of zakat, giving a little bit of what you have to those who need it is seen as a way to keep the wealth alive and well. It's not just about charity, it's about making sure your money is working for you and not against you. The beautiful thing about the zakat practice is that it's not just about giving to others, it's about nurturing the flow of wealth in our community. In the Quran, it's said that when we share a portion of our wealth with those in need, it's not just a gesture of charity, but a way of purifying our finances. This teaches us that money is more than just a tool, it's a vital energy that needs to flow in a sustainable way for our economy to thrive. We've seen that communities with strong economies aren't based on how much money each person has, but on how that money circulates within the society. When the economy grows and money is concentrated without being circulated, it can actually lead to its collapse. This is another hidden code of the Audiobook, and it beautifully illustrates that money isn't something we possess, but rather, it's an energy that we channel. When we understand this, we can start to administer it with wisdom and avoid hoarding it with fear. The last code, faith as a contract with abundance in all closed books, reminds us that prosperity isn't just about having a lot of money, but also about having a strong faith. There's a common element when we talk about prosperity, the C, but it's not just about the letter C, it's about the energy and flow of wealth that it represents. I totally get it, Sarah. I believe, with every fiber of my being, that abundance is the natural state of the universe. Jesus said that if you have faith as big as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. In the Kabbalah, it's said that the universe is designed to respond to trust. Those who doubt this channel will find it closed, and those who believe it will find it open. Sira, I truly believe that abundance is the natural state of the universe. Jesus said that if you have faith as big as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. In the Kabbalah, it said that the universe is designed to respond to trust. Those who doubt it, it seems, are the ones who are closed off. Neuroscience tells us that our brains are wired to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Abundance isn't just about being lucky. The idea of abundance is something we've always had in our sacred texts, waiting for those ready to see to discover the hidden code. It's always been there, right in front of us. Those who read it with a fresh perspective will see that abundance is not a secret, but something we can all access. Chapter 14, The Science of Money. Quantum physics tells us that prosperity and time are not as solid as they seem. They are actually responses to principles that we're just starting to understand. For a long time, we've thought of money as a physical thing, a collection of real goods that exist based on economic laws. Have you ever thought about how money is more than just something we can hold in our hands? It's a fascinating idea, isn't it? Quantum physics has taught us that money and prosperity aren't things we can just hold or see. They are more like vibrations or energy patterns. What we have and how much we have is less important than how we think and act. It's incredible how quantum physics has shown us that the universe isn't made of solid things, but instead, it's filled with energy fields. And the particles that make up everything aren't fixed. They change based on how much attention they get. So, what does this mean for money? Well, money is just a way of showing how valuable something is. In its purest form, money isn't an object, but a wave. Frequency moves through reality, taking on different forms. Coins, tickets, figures, and more. But what determines its flow isn't the economy, but how those who use it perceive it. The double experiment with scarves and the creation of wealth is one of the most famous experiments in quantum physics. It was discovered that a particle can act like a wave or a particle, depending on whether it's being observed or not. When no one's watching, the particle exists in multiple states at once. But when it's being observed, it collapses into a reality. This principle has some pretty deep implications for prosperity, especially when matter responds to observation. Money is part of the same quantum structure, and your awareness is the key to understanding how it works. When you see money as a possibility, it can help you create a reality that feels abundant. But when you see a shortage, it can feel like the possibility of abundance is slipping away. The Talmud says that the world is like a mirror, and what you see in it reflects what you project. Quantum science has confirmed this idea with precise mathematics. Money is part of that same quantum structure, my friend. Your awareness of wealth has the power to change your reality. When you see a shortage, that's your reality. The Talmud says the world is like a mirror, what you project in it returns to you. Quantum science has confirmed this idea with precision. What you think about wealth becomes your experience of it. This means that your thoughts about wealth influence your experience of it. In quantum physics, the concept of position exists, where a particle can exist in multiple states at the same time until it chooses one. This concept can also be applied to wealth. The way you think about money affects what you experience in your life. In quantum physics, there's this idea that a particle can be in different states at the same time, until it chooses one. This is how abundance and shortage can exist together in the quantum field of possibilities. Your conscience is like the filter that chooses which of these realities will show up in your life. Neuroscience explains this through the brain's ability to change. Your brain doesn't differentiate between reality and what you imagine when you focus on prosperity. It starts to reorganize your perception to show you opportunities that are in line with that frequency. This is where quantum and spiritual wisdom meet. Jesus said in the Bible that everything you ask for in prayer will come true if you believe. This is a teaching that, for a really long time, people thought money was just a spiritual thing, but it's actually a pretty exact way of explaining how reality can change. It's not about having doubts, it's about believing with all your heart. Money is like energy that's moving around. If we think of the universe as a vibration, and money is a part of that, then money is like a frequency, not an object. Money is a frequency, not an object in the Kabbalah. The inexhaustible flow of abundance isn't about getting rich, it's about aligning with your inner self. Money, like energy, follows the same rules. Money is like a river that flows strongly over time, but it can also lock up and dry up. The same is true of wealth. Those who hold it fearfully will find it stagnant, while those who leave it will flow with intelligence and multiply. Quantum economics has shown us that when we're afraid of losing something, it activates the part of our brain that responds to fear and reacts instinctively. This can make it hard to think creatively and see opportunities. On the other hand, those who trust and are open to growth find ways to expand their wealth. The brain regions involved in this include the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with vision, strategic problem solving, and decision making. So, if we see money as a natural flow, we can develop mental structures that help us create and conserve it. If money responds to awareness, then the key, my dear friends, is not in pursuing it, but in changing the way we observe things. It's no accident that multimillionaires around the world think differently from those who live in scarcity. They don't see money as something that must reach them, instead, they see it as something that inevitably flows towards them. This is quantum alignment, my friends. The key is not in chasing after it, but in changing the way we observe things. It's no coincidence that multimillionaires around the world have a completely different perspective than those who struggle with scarcity. They don't see money as something they need to chase after, but rather as something that naturally flows towards them. This is a matter of aligning with the quantum frequency of certainty and creating the desired reality in the physical world. This idea has been taught by religion for centuries. The term C in quantum physics is actually the principle of uncertainty. What do you expect to see in the world of cinema? What do you experience? Thomas's Gospel of Prohibited Apocryphal Texts says, the frequency of certainty is the key to creating the reality you desire. Religions have taught this for centuries, but quantum physics has a different way of expressing it. It's not called C, but the principle of uncertainty. What do you expect to see in the world of cinema? What do you experience when you finish reading Thomas's Gospel of Prohibited Apocryphal Texts? If you understand what's within you, you'll be saved. If you don't, what you don't take will destroy you. This is an exact description of how the quantum field responds to awareness. What's inside you determines what's manifested in the exterior. The last secret is the wealth as a state quantum. The difference is in the way you look at things. If you focus on what's inside, you'll find that money won't be an issue. But if you're not in tune with yourself, money might be a problem. This is how the quantum field responds to awareness. What's inside you determines what you see on the outside. There's a big difference between those who generate wealth and those who don't. It's not about your education, where you come from, or your internal frequency. Wealth isn't an external result, it's a quantum state. Spiritual teachings have described this for centuries, but only now does quantum physics give us the language to understand it. Money isn't and wealth and scarcity aren't about education, background, or where you start from. They are about your inner state. For ages, spiritual teachings have talked about this. But it's only recently that quantum physics has given us the words to understand it. Money isn't the goal, it's a sign of who you are. If you see wealth as normal and scarcity as unavoidable, that's what money will show you. The world doesn't respond to your needs, it responds to your energy. When you learn to sync with the energy of abundance, money becomes a natural part of it. It's in this beautiful chapter 15 that we find the great secret, the practical application of knowledge. There's an invisible thread that ties together initiates from all different times. It's a knowledge that's been hidden behind symbols, protected in temples, and forbidden in books. This knowledge has been persecuted, destroyed, and confined. The great secret is something that we can all access, even if it's not easy to understand. It's a thread that connects us all through time. This knowledge has been hidden in symbols in temples and forbidden in books. It has been persecuted, destroyed, and confined. But it's not because these books had superstitions in them. It's because they revealed a truth that the elite, the people who have controlled their world, understood. They understood that the mind controls matter. Reality is not what it seems. It's not a set of facts or a destination drawn by forces external to reality. Reality is moldable, and its structure responds to who is observing it. Wealth and success are not privileges granted to those who are lucky. They are reflexes of a mind that has learned to operate within the hidden structure of the universe. If there is a great secret that has been transmitted in the shadows, it's this: money and prosperity are only external. You know, Manifestations of a frequency are something that we can find within ourselves. We don't have to go chasing them down. Instead, we can just go within and find them there. It's like we're losing our abundance as a state of being. Even the great alchemists of thought have tried to share this truth in different ways in texts that are a bit like serrated philosophy and hermetic esotericism. You know, I really believe that manifestations of a frequency are the key. I've found that chasing them doesn't work. You have to get to them, be them. I'm reminded of the great alchemists of thought who tried to share this truth in different ways in texts, serrated in philosophy, hermetic in esoteric teachings of the Kabbalah and the principles of quantum physics. The message is the same: the universe doesn't respond to what you want, but what you are. The Talmud expresses this beautifully with a teaching that few have understood in its true depth, that what you have will be given more to the one who doesn't have what he has, and he will be removed. The teachings of the Kabbalah and the principles of quantum physics are all about the same idea: the universe doesn't respond to what you want, but what you are. The Talmud expresses this with a teaching that few have understood in its true depth, that whoever has will be given more, and whoever doesn't have will be removed. At first glance, this seems unfair, almost cruel. But when you see it from the perspective of vibration, you see its true meaning. These are possessions, but they are also states of being. Whoever vibrates in the certainty of abundance will inevitably attract it in all of its forms, while whoever vibrates in shortage will end up losing. It's hard to see the unfairness in this, isn't it? But when we look at it from a different point of view, a vibration perspective, things become clearer. Our possessions and material goods are just reflections of our internal state. When we feel secure and abundant, we naturally attract more of the same. But when we're struggling, it's hard to see the bigger picture. Studies in neuroscience have shown us that our brains are wired to see the world in a certain way. It's like our brains are programmed to recognize patterns. Someone who has been taught to look for opportunities might see a path to success, while someone who has been taught to see lack might only see obstacles. This is where the power of knowledge comes in. You know, I've been thinking a lot about what it really means to have true wealth. And I've come to the conclusion that it's not about the money itself, but more about the ability to generate and hold the vibration of abundance. It's like a kind of code that initiates share with each other. The ancient Egyptians had a pretty interesting understanding of this. They believed that words had this creative power, and they used it to shape their world. It's like they were saying, with our minds and voices, we can shape our world. And in the Kabbalah, there's this idea that the Hebrew letters were used as tools to give form to existence. It's like they were saying, let's use these tools to create our world. And in the Gospel of John, it says, in the beginning was the verb. So, it's like they were saying, let's start with the verb and build our world from there. The verb was with God, and the verb was God. This is a beautiful principle that we find in all spiritual traditions. Reality responds to vibration. But, you know, it's not enough to just say words of success or wealth. What's important is to feel the internal frequency that supports it. It's not about repeating a statement mechanically, but rather about feeling it as absolute truth, as something that has already happened in the quantum field and only he is waiting. Quantum physics has shown us that particles subatomic exist in a state of possibility until they are observed. The reality we know is always changing, and that's a good thing. It's like a beautiful dance between consciousness and the world around us. Money and prosperity are all around us, in all sorts of forms. In the field of quantum, the key is to understand how to collapse the reality we see into a more accurate version. It's easy to get lost in the pursuit of money, thinking it's something separate from who we really are. But the wise ones, the ones who truly understand, they know better. They know that true wealth comes from within, not from trying to get more from the world. I've been teaching this with a phrase that's been misunderstood for centuries, and I'm here to help you understand it. When you seek first the kingdom of God and your justice, all these things will be added. The kingdom of God isn't a physical place, it's a state of conscience. When a person enters the correct vibration, reality begins to respond in a different way. It's not about working harder, stealing for opportunities, or becoming obsessed with results. It's about learning to operate from the level where abundance is inevitable. From a neuroscience perspective, this is known as a state of imagine being in a state of flow, where actions come naturally and effortlessly, and your mind is fully in sync with your purpose. It's like something out of a fairy tale, with results that feel almost magical. Those who have mastered the art of wealth have learned to tap into this state whenever they want. The final step is about breaking free from the cycle of needing to ask for what you want. Many energy religions and philosophies teach that the most common human mistake is begging. In the Cabal, they believe that divine light is available to everyone, but it requires a container to contain it. In the beautiful art of alchemy, it's said that transformation doesn't happen through obligation, but through a kind of inner change. In the fascinating field of quantum physics, it's been revealed that what we observe is influenced by the observer, but only when there's a definite interaction. This means that money, wealth, and prosperity don't bring about despair, but rather, they bring about alignment. Who needs to be confirmed by your lack? Who demands certainty to confirm your right? The great secret that their wise ones have protected throughout the ages is that abundance isn't something that is. I've learned that the most important thing is not changing the world around you, but changing how you see things from within. When you understand this, you'll see that the world around you changes. You'll start to feel like everything is possible. It might feel like magic, but it's actually the law of the universe. The only true reality is in your mind. When you understand this, you'll stop searching for answers and start creating.